December 28th, and we're up at the hangar. Decided to try something different on these, where these Pitot tubes go through here and are safety wired in. Went down, picked up some rubber grommets. A couple different sizes. So we'll try these out. We'll run the hoses through them, and then we'll safety wire those up through the little channel. That's in there, if this thing will focus. So then we'll do that here instead of around the tape that's on there. Battery ran down on my camera while I was shooting that last spot. So we're going to try those grommets over on the wing for the Pitot tubes. Put those in. I think those will work a little better than just putting electrical tape or whatever kind of tape you put around them. The other thing that we've got on the list today is we need to trim off and clean up the bend tabs on the aileron skins and one of the flap skins. We got to get that done. Got to get these skins cleaned up. We'll use some MEK to clean this stuff up, and we're going to see how far we get with actually doing some assembly of flap and aileron assembly. And once we get done with that, then we can switch back to wing skin. I don't know how far we're going to get. I still have to order some wire for the landing light, for the wingtip strobe light, position light, and the, what's the other thing? Oh, the Pitot tube. I got a Pitot heat. We got a heated Pitot tube, so I got to order wiring for that too, and run that through the wing before we put the skins on. The other thing I did was picked up some grommets for the Pitot tube routing. What the instruction has you do is, you'll see in the previous video where you safety wire, and then you just wrap safety wire around these tubes, and then you twist it again at the bottom. Wasn't real keen on that, so what I did was picked up some grommets and just ran the safety wire through the little channel in there, and then I left the tape wrap on here, and it makes a nice tight fit on there. It's not squeezing these, it's not putting any pressure on those, but it's just holding them good in there. So that was one of the modifications I've done. So I did that on all three locations. We got one there. Which rib number is that? Number 5, rib number 5. And actually, in the instructions, they tell you to put it through that front hole, but the way that we're routing our Pitot tube in here is going to be a modified version of that. So I put it through the second one there, then through there, and then out the root. Okay, we're getting things laid out for the flap assembly. We've got our skin done, cleaned. We've got our ribs laid out where they're going to go. We've got the hinges on the ribs that have hinges. There's a push-pull assembly or push-pull bracket on there. And that's where the push-pull tube from the bell crank will come in and then raise and lower the flaps. Got another hinge there, no hinge there, and then we've got a hinge on the outside. Well, we ran into a little bit of a snag in our riveting for the flap ribs and the flap hinges. I guess the hinge to rib riveting. The thickness of this material here, this hinge and this rib material, is combined is 0.145 inches, and I've gotten in the habit of checking these because we did have some stuff earlier. It was the trim tab. The elevator trim tab had a incorrect rivet specified in the instructions. So I've gotten in the habit of measuring this stuff before we rivet it up, and we got this all cleat-code and ready to go, and I remembered, hey, I better check this. And that combined thickness at 0.145, when I consult my handy-dandy Stanley Avdel pop rivet specification, says that 60, and this is a
62.
AAPQ 62, and this says that the 62, that is too short of a rivet for this material. So I've got to call into Rand's tech support, and I'm thinking that it should be a 64, and you can see, well, if it'll focus, there we go. You can see the difference between those two rivets. This is the one they call for, and I think this is the one that it needs to use. Problem is we only have 5 of these in stock with us here, and we're putting in, what, 24 rivets into these? So if it turns out that we need to use a 64, we'll be delayed. I might see if I can source these local, but we'll have to get some 64s. But waiting for a call back from Rand's tech support to verify that they're I guess verify what they want us to, what we can use on that, if they've got some kind of an exception for that shorter rivet. But anyways, well, fun continues. We're kind of at a stopping point with those, with riveting those ribs and hinges in. Haven't heard back from Rand's yet on determination of which rivets to use. So we're moving on to press bushings in to our flap hinges and aileron hinges for the right wing, and hinge arms as well, flap and aileron hinge arms. So we'll get those done. You may have seen the last video I did on this. We did a heat method where we heated this up to 300 and 350, and then while they were hot, reamed these out to, I can't remember what size we reamed them out to.
5/16 is the bushing.
Yeah, to 5/16, and then we dropped the bushing in there when it was hot, and when it cooled off, it contracted enough to hold the bushing in there nice and tight. So that's what we did last time. This time, I'm going to try and we're just going to ream it out. I've got a let's see. So the bushing is 0.315. The hinge is 0.300. So I'm going to ream okay, I had to double check my work. The bushing is 0.315. Right now, the hinge, hole in the hinge for the bushing is 0.300. We need this hole to be just a little bit under this size, so I'm going to ream it to 0.3135. That'll give us 0.0015 of clearance or of interference to press the bushing into that hinge. So I'm going to give that a try versus the heat method and see how well that works. Okay, we did the first two. Actually, we did the first hinge, and that was reamed to 0.3135, and reamed it, put the bushing in there, and didn't have to press it. It fell right into it. So you can tip that over. You can see it tips out. However, the instruction says as long as there's no detectable play in that hinge and bushing, that's okay. So I'm going to stick with that, and you can use some Loctite green hold that in. I'm assuming it's probably kind of like super glue or something, but I'll figure that out. But all that needs to happen is this bushing just needs to be retained in this hinge when the wing is assembled, or when it's assembled, just to be retained in there so it doesn't fall out. Did the next one, went down 2/1000ths on the reamer to a 3/115, and this one, can you grab that? Just kind of show it on. Hold it up so I can see it from the side. This way. Sorry, that way. And focus. Come on, for crying out loud! There we go. So this one is a 3/115, and it just has a little bit of friction going in, and if you turn that one over, it doesn't fall out. So that's a perfect fit right there. It's not super tight, but it's spec in the book. There's no play in it. There's no play in either one of those, but this one, it actually it retains it a little bit with it's finger tight in there. All right, so we're reaming this. This is a flap hinge, and we have noted on here which side it is. So it's the right side flap, and then we've got the B on here for this is the bushing side where we're going to put the bushing into it. And I just line it up using the reamer. Just get that aligned there. Put a clamp on it. Clamp that down. Okay, we got that reamed out. It's got a little tiny bit of a burr on the bottom side, so grab our deburring tool. Just give it a swipe with that. Knock that burr off of there. Grab the bushing. Maybe. And this is our bushing side. And you can see that just presses in with finger tight. Good to go. So one other thing on these hinges, when we did the ream using that 0.3115 chuck reamer. The nice thing is these you can press them. You saw me just press it in with my thumb. The other nice thing is that the AN3 that goes through these fits without having to ream those out either. So it seems to be a pretty good fit. It's just goes right in there. Nice. It's got a nice fit. Well, we're knocking off kind of early today because we're got to a point where we really can't move forward. You saw earlier my issue that we're having with those the rivets that go through that hinge and that rib, and it's the same for all of these, both on the flaps and the ailerons. The specified rivet in the book doesn't meet the minimum thickness, or it doesn't fit that thickness of material. So I called Rands, left a message asking for a call back. Haven't heard back. Oh, what'd you say? 3.5 hours? So it's been a while. Haven't heard back. Posted to the builder's site and had a couple comments saying, let us know what you hear. I posted over to the Rands owner's site. Haven't heard anything back on that yet. Sent an email to support, aircraft support at Rands. Haven't heard back on that yet. So we did some other stuff. We fit the bushings into the hinge arms and the hinges for the right wing. Got that done. We talked about how we're going to store these wings when we get done building them. My wife and I talked about that, discussed. We're probably going to do an A-frame storage for it up against that back wall there. So we'll have an A-frame with the wings. The wings will hang on, or not hang. Well, yeah, they'll be on either side, probably hanging by the. We'll have a strap in there to hang those up. So we talked about that. We talked about.
Showed me how the jig.
Oh, yeah. There's a jig that we have to use once we get the top skin on. You have to flip that wing over, and there's a jig that it has to sit on, because obviously you can't have it sitting on the skin of the wing on the bench when you do the bottom skin. So I showed her how that works. What else? Oh, we talked about how we're going to store all these ailerons and these flaps once we get them built. So we've got the aileron skins here, but when we get everything done, we're going to have to rearrange. We're going to rearrange a bunch of this so we can get more storage in here of these completed parts. We've got everything from the top all the way to the bottom, down the floor. All that stuff on the bottom's all fuselage, so that really kind of has to stay there until we get started on that. But we'll get something figured out here. We need to get that done. What else? Oh, so we have to figure out, once we hear back from Rands, we're going to have to, if it turns out that we need a 40 dash or a dash 62 or a dash 64 rivet, we're going to have to get some of those ordered and get those sent lickety split, because we're really at a standstill at this point. We've kind of advanced as far as we can without having to start a whole nother section of the airplane, which we really, really don't want to have to do, because that's just a huge problem if we have to do that as far as logistics go. So we took 3 days off this week from work so that we could do this stuff, and now we're kind of at a stopping point on the first day, our first work day of the week, working on the airplane. Anyway, so a little bummed on that. Hope to hear back and get a resolution pretty quick on this rivet thing. So tomorrow we can maybe move forward. We might be able to source those rivets locally. We'll have to see if indeed that's what it is, that we have to get new rivets. But we'll see what happens, and I will let you know. And hopefully we'll have some news tomorrow. So yeah, if you're liking the video, hit that thumbs up button, become a subscriber, and I really appreciate the views. Thanks for watching. Have a good afternoon, evening, morning, whatever, wherever the case may be. That's it for now. Hey, quick update. Did hear back from Randy over at Rands, and he said that we can use the dash 62 rivet in there, and the reason they use that is because it is that section, or I should say that part, you probably can't see me pointing at it, but that part is where the hinge rivets to the rib is loaded in shear and not in tension. So there isn't anything trying to pull that apart, which would be loaded, which would be in tension, is trying to pull those two pieces apart. It's not loaded it's loaded in shear, which is against each other, or I guess, like sliding. So he said the reason that they use the 62 instead of a 64 is that in shear, that shorter rivet is actually stronger than the 64 that is called out in the Avdel documentation. So that's a quick update on that. We're really happy to hear that, because this is our next big step that we need to do. We need to get this stuff done. So tomorrow we'll be able to get back up the hangar and proceed with that step in the build process.